Good morning, everyone. I am Dina Akasha, and I'm back with my educational videos. And today we are going to discuss 2D shapes. And to be very specific, we are going to discuss how to calculate the area and the parameter for any 2D shapes. Now, as we always try and classify and categorize our questions, now we have the basic questions that we will be dealing with now, just to introduce all the rules. And then we have the algebraic questions. And the algebraic questions, من كلمة algebraic معناها إنه there is algebra included. And then, of course, we have the challenging questions or the tricks or the different ideas or whatever, okay? So, and actually with the tricks, mainly, we are going to be discussing the questions in which a certain area is shaded and you are required to calculate this area. So let's start with our video. Hopefully it's not going to be long. If you can please, again, if you are using my resources, this is the notes page number 205. This is the notes page number 205. Now, if we just go back to pages 202 and 203, you'll find that all of the rules are written here for you if you wish to refer to them, page 202 and 203. But we will actually apply them immediately on numerical questions. So let's start with the basic questions. And the question simply here says, find the area of the following shapes. Now, before I actually continue into that, I'll just go briefly into the meaning of the word parameter or the word perimeter as it's announced, okay? Now, if, for instance, I draw a shape خليني بس أحاول أرسم shape مظبوط هنا قلم كده بيرسم كويس. If I draw, for example, a rectangle over here, and then I actually decide to draw a line, or I draw this diagonal. Now, of course, we know that the rectangle, each two opposite sides are equal, okay? And this is diagonal over here. And let me just remind you that the angle in between the diagonals, the angle in between, sorry, the base and the height here is a 90 degrees. So if I wish to calculate this diagonal, the diagonal will be calculated using Pythagoras theorem, definitely. So it's not just a random number to be written. So the diagonal over here is root 109. Now, if the question says, for instance, find the parameter or the perimeter of the following rectangle, which sides do I add? Now, please, let's remember that the parameter means that you add the outer sides, these, the ones that are highlighted in yellow. So if you are going to calculate the parameter will be the why am I using yellow? The parameter will be the outer sides. تمام كده اللي هم 3 plus 10 plus 10 plus 3. And then, of course, you get the answer, which is 26. And طبعا, if this is in centimeters, then you have to remember that this as well will be centimeter. But if the question, for instance, says, find the total length of this diagram. يعني let's assume مثلا this is a running track. وفي واحد عمال بيجري وبيتريض بيعمل رياضة الصبح. actually دلوقتي الساعة 9 الصبح. اوكي وهو قاعد بيمشي في التراك والتراك ده عبارة عن this side, this side, this side, this side, and this side. So if the question here says طبعا it doesn't make sense انه it's centimeter بقى ممكن تبقى اليونتس مختلفة. So if it says ليه كده? If it says here work out the total length that this athlete has ran. So in this case بقى what will I do? I will add all the sides. فهنقول بقى 3 plus 10 plus 3 plus 10 plus the diagonal that I calculated. And most probably in this question, you will be asked to round your number to a certain significant figure. So please notice the difference if the question says perimeter and if the question says total length. Now let's go back to our notes and discuss the basic rules. And again, before I go into the rules, you have to understand two very, very important terms. What is the base and what is the height? طبعا, we all have the information that the area of the triangle is half multiplied by the base and multiplied by the height. Now, which two sides are considered the base and the height? The two sides that are considered the base and the height are the sides that intersect at a 90 degrees. So if the triangle is drawn in this form, or let's assume that the triangle is drawn in this form, or let's assume that the triangle is drawn in this form. Now, I'm going to use actually the same numbers. Now, this is your base over here. Taban, this is totally not to scale. Okay, so this is 17 as well. Now, where is the height? The height is the perpendicular distance from the highest point to the base. There goes your height, which is 6 centimeters. Now, what about this triangle over here? Now, if I extend the base as follows, again, where is the height? This is the height over here, okay, which is the highest, the perpendicular distance from the highest point to the base, which is 6. Now, does this have to be the height? Does this have to be the base? Or it's okay if I shuffle them? It's totally okay if I shuffle them. تمام، لأنه ممكن التراينجل ده أنا أشقلبه كده. فأنا ما يفرقش معايا قوي مين اسمه البيز ومين اسمه الهايت. As long as they are perpendicular on each other and from the highest point to the ground. يعني لو أنا جيت هنا I changed the numbers مثلا، حطيت هنا ال 6 وهنا ال 17، حطيت هنا ال 17 وحطيت هنا ال 6، it's the same. بس you just need to be aware of this. So here طبعا let's go back to the rule. If I wish to calculate the area of the triangle over here, طبعا this would be super easy. Half times 6 times 17, and then I would do the math on the calculator times 17, and you get an answer of 51. And of course, the unit of an area is centimeter squared, as now we are dealing with area. And I guess this is quite easy, and most of you already know the information. Now, as for the parallelogram, the trapezium, this shape over here is a trapezium. A trapezium is a quadrilateral in which only two sides are parallel, as you can see, and they're not equal in length. Now, where is the height again? The height is the perpendicular distance between the bases. And as you can see, the parallelogram could be drawn like this, or it could be drawn like this, or it could be rotated. يعني ده ممكن يتلف يا جماعة عادي جدا. As long as I have two parallel sides and the height is given between them, and of course a four-sided shape, I can calculate the area of the trapezium using this rule over here, the average of the bases multiplied by the height. Base 1 plus base 2 over 2 multiplied by the height, and let's do the calculation. And which is base 1 and which is base 2. Again, يا جماعة مش هتفرق يعني مين هم base 1 and base 2. And why did I label them as B1 and B2? Because they have different lengths. They have different lengths. Okay, so we just substitute in the rule 7 plus 13 over 2. And then you multiply by the height, which is the 8. And let's do the math on the calculator. As I always say, you do not need to use your mental skills, especially when we're dealing with our O levels at the end of the year. So in this page, we discussed parallelogram, we discussed trapezium and a triangle. Okay, now moving on to more rules. Now, this is a circle, and I'm going to actually add a semicircle. Now, again, what is a circle? A circle is a rounded shape, as you can see, and then there goes the center of the circle. Let's remember that the distance between the center and the circular line, and this circular line over here is called the circumference of the circle. Is called the circumference from the circle. And actually, in this question, I'm going to display both rules of the circle, which are the area of the circle, which is pi r squared, and I'm sure that you are familiar with the pi. The pi is a decimal, which is 3.14 after rounding, but we don't use it as pi. Now, on your calculators, you have this button over here, times 10 to the power of x, and on top of it, on the calculator itself, you will find this Latin symbol, which is pi, and we will use it as it is. يعني we don't use 22/7, we don't use 3.14, we use the pi. Now, This is the radius, as we said, the distance from the center to the circumference. And of course, the diameter is the distance between 2 points on the circumference passing through the center. And please, whenever you're dealing with 2D shapes, generally, whenever you're dealing with geometry, you don't assume anything. It has to be written that this is the radius. It has to be written that this is the center. So if I'm going to calculate the area over here, what I would do is, initially, I must find my radius as I am given the diameter. So the radius is 8.3 divided by 2, because we already know that the diameter is 2 times radius. 2 radii gives a diameter. So 8.3 divided 2, this is your radius, which is 4.15. And now I will just substitute over here to calculate the area. So pi times 4.15 squared. And then you just do the math. Shift and pi so that you get the pi on the calculator times 4.15 squared. Now I just want to display something. This is the answer that I got on the calculator. This exactly. Now, when do I leave my answer like this, and when do I change it to decimal? I leave my answer like this if the question says keep your answer in terms of pi. If the question says, or if the examiner said that they want the answer in terms of pi, you leave it as it is. طيب, when do I change it to decimal? I change it to decimal if the question says change to decimal and give your, it won't say change to decimal. هيقول لي دايما ايه على طول round your answer to مش عارفة كام significant figures. تمام. So the question, if the question says change your and write your answer to 3 significant figures, for instance, now I change into decimal, of course, using the SD button. And after rounding, I will get an answer of 54. Let me just rewrite this properly. I will get an answer of 54.1 centimeter squared. So please just remember this part over here in case you face this sentence which says keep your answer in terms of pi. Now this is for the area. Now as for the circumference, now the circumference rule is 2 pi r, or it is pi multiplied by the diameter. And as I said, if you wish to refer to the sheets in pages 202, I guess, and 203, you'll find all the rules written. So you want to use this, you want to use this. Taban, definitely I will use this because I have the diameter immediately. Does it make sense to double the radius? So the circumference is 8.3 multiplied by pi. Again, your answer could be 8.3 pi, and you leave it like this. If it's a taban, it will not be written like this on the calculator, by the way. If you place it on the calculator, this is what you'll get. 83 over 10 pi, because the calculator gives your answer in its simplest form. I leave it like this. If the question says keep your answer in terms of pi, I change it to decimal. If the question says, masalan, round your answer to 3 significant figures, and this is the answer that I will get, which is 26.1. Okay, now this is for the area and the circumference of the circle. Now this is a sector. والسector بالنسبة لي is super important. The sector is very 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 important يا جماعة. هو والsemicircle لأنه بيجوا كتير قوي قوي في الامتحانات. Okay, now I just need to check that the semicircle rules are written. Yes, actually the semicircle. So we have the rules of the circle over here. Okay, and then we have the semicircle, and of course we know what is a semicircle. A semicircle is half of a circle. Now, if I am required to find the area of the semicircle, definitely what I will do is that I will get the area of the circle divided by 2, reaching to this form over here. And if I want to calculate, as it's over here and it's in bold, as you can see, if I want to calculate the perimeter of the semicircle, then as we said earlier, the perimeter is all the outer sides, meaning that I will take this diameter and I will add it to half the circle. Now, I don't have an issue with the diameter. I have an issue with this half the circle, also known as the arc, as you can see. Now, 2 pi r calculates a complete circumference. 2 pi r calculates the complete circumference. طيب, what if I need half of it? So if I need half of it, I divide it by 2. Again, then دلوقتي what I want you to do is that I want you to write the rule over here. Okay, so again, the semicircle is half a circle. And the concern for me for semicircles is the perimeter. Perimeter is the outer sides, and the outer sides of the semicircle are this diameter. فأنا ما عنديش فيها مشكلة. Okay, plus. Now, my concern is this curved line. Now, how do I calculate the length of this curved line? A complete circumference is calculated by the rule 2 pi r. طيب, half the circumference is calculated by what? Half the rule, leading us to, pi r, leading to pi r. So this arc, or that half of the semicircle, is calculated by pi r. So if I wish to calculate the parameter of a semicircle, it would be the diameter plus pi r. Please remember this. Plus pi r. Now, as بقى for the sector is very important, and we're going to solve later on 2 questions related to sector. Now, what is a circle? Let me use this magic pen. I really like it. See, changes immediately into a circle. And this is the center over here, and I'm going to draw a radius, and I'm going to draw another radius. So as you can see, what I did is that, let me just pick another color. I drew a circle. This is the center of the circle, and I am not assuming that this is the center. This is the center. And of course, this is the radius, and this is another radius. Now, this area over here, the area between, please listen carefully, the area between 2 radii is called a sector. The area between 2 radii is called a sector. أنا بشبهها بالظبط بما إنه أنا البيتزا، بجد أنا بحب البيتزا يعني حب غريب. I love pizza. دايما بشبه السيركل عموما بالبيتزا. Okay, so a slice of the pizza is a sector. A slice of the pizza is a sector. So if I actually take this slice outside بالشكل ده كده اهو، عليها بقى المشروم والبيبروني والحلويات والزيتون. This is the center, this is a radius, and this is another radius. This is the sector. ده sector. تمام. طيب, if the angle, okay, وخلينا برضو بس نفتكر انه this is the diameter over here, and of course the diameter divides the circle into semicircles, half circles. طيب, ما هي مكونات السكتر? What are the components of the sector? مش pepperoni ومشروم. The components of the sector are 2 radii, as you can see, 2 radius, an angle of the sector, which is represented by this symbol over here, theta, or any other symbol that you wish. And it doesn't have to be this symbol. This is just a symbol that indicates an angle. And الحتة دي بقى اللي هي الحتة stuffed crust اللي بتبقى مليانة جبنة. The stuffed crust part. This over here is called an arc. This is called an arc. So basically, what is an arc? An arc is حتة من الcircumference. So these are the components of the sector. These are the components of the sector. طبعا, we all know that the total angle of the sector is 300, of the angle, and asfa, is 360 degrees. So this angle theta could be less than 180, like in this case over here. فساعتها هنقول إنه my sector is a minor sector. تخيلوا بقى كده يا ولاد، أنا أخدت لا ليه خلاص أنا أسف. تخيلوا بقى إن أنا عملت إيه؟ هجرب كده بالقلم ده، إن أنا أخدت السكتر ده وأكلته من البيتزا بتاعتي. شوف هتظبط ولا مش هتظبط. هيتبقى لي الشكل العجيب ده. I will have this shape over here remaining the rest of the pizza. يعني what I'm trying to say is that, let me just try and do a little trick. Okay, let's assume I have erased this part, or I have taken this part. Oh لا خلاص the tricked word. Let's assume I have taken this slice and I ate it. خدتها وكلتها. فده اللي اتبقى لي، اللي هو حتى انا دايما بعد لما بشرحها للولاد بتوعي بقول لهم عامله زي اللعبه دي اللي اسمها بوكيمون. في لعبه كده راجل بيقعد يجري كده شبه كده ويقعد ياكل كوينز وحاجات كده، مش عارفه اسمه بوكيمون ولا مش عارفه اسمه باكمان ولا ما اعرفش اسمه ايه. anyways so as you can see ليه راح ليه؟ لا كله تشيل تاني، معلش نلونه بعيد. اوكي so this is the Pokemon بتاعي اهو، ده كأنه احنا خدنا الحتة دي وكلناها. فزي ما اتفقنا يا حبايبي the rest of my pizza over here is as well called a sector. The rest of this pizza is called a sector. But هو ليه بيروح؟ معلش بقى عشان يعني هرسمها في حتة تانية. خلاص خلينا نروح على another board. اوكي خلينا نرسمها عادي بقى خلاص كده اهي. Let's pick another color other than the white. The trick did not work. اهي that's it خلاص. انا بس كنت عايزة انه يبقى شكلها بس شوية مظبوط، ما تبقاش كده غريبة. So this is the rest. Okay, and the sector is outside over here. So this angle of the sector is, as we said, less than 180. So in this case, it's called a minor sector. While the remaining angle أو the remaining sector اللي هو الباقي بقى ده هنا عندي ده كده. طبعا this angle over here, as you can see, is a reflex angle. And this angle is going to be more than 180. This angle is more than 180. And in this case, طبعا, what will I call my sector? This sector will be called this sector will be called a major sector. ما اعرفش الحته كلها هنجد بتاعت الميجر sector ليه؟ الميجر sector. So this is a major sector. And again, as we said, the sector is made out of a center, a radius, and another radius, as you can see. فأنا هنا in this slide, I just wanted you to know the difference between the minor sector and a major sector. Okay, so what applies on minor applies on major. Okay. طيب فزي ما اتفقنا يا جماعة دلوقتي, what will be the questions related to sector, whether it's a minor sector or it is a major sector, يعني سواء كان كده أو كان كده. Now please remember that the sector أصلا جاي منين؟ The sector أصلا جاي من circle. So if I wish to calculate the area of the sector, I will use the area of the circle. If I wish to calculate the length of this arc over here, I will use the circumference of the circle. Why? Because the sector حتة من السيركل، يعني السيكتور ده جزء منه. فخلينا نشوف how do I apply this if I'm going بقى ايه to solve this question over here related to sector. اهو هنجيب الاريا وهنجيب arc وهنجيب parameter ونشوف the questions related to sector. So let's see. Okay, what if the question says find the area of the sector? Now, as you can see, this is the center, this is a radius, and it is another radius, and of course the radii are equal. If I am required to calculate the area of the sector, I will use the area of the circle, and I will just multiply it by a fraction. What is this fraction? This fraction is the angle of the sector divided by the total angle of the circle. لأن زي ما اتفقنا يا جماعة لو أنا كملت ده كده هيبقى circle. Okay, so the area of the sector is simply the probability of the angle of the sector divided by the total angle of the circle multiplied by the area rule of the circle طبعا, which is pi r squared. طبعا هنا the radius is given as 8, and now I just place it on the calculator. فليه أنا بقول لكم يا جماعة السكتور سهل؟ لأن أنا كل اللي أنا بعمله في السكتور إن أنا بستعمل الرولز بتاعة السيركل بس بزود عليها الفراكشن ده. طبعا I will get this answer over here on the calculator. قلنا when do I leave it like this if it says keep in terms of pi, but if I change to decimal I will get an answer of 20.1. So this is for the area. Now what is the second question that I might be asked? The second question is find the length of the arc of the circle. of the sector. Now the arc of the sector هو جزء من circumference. The arc of the sector is the apart from the circumference. So if I wish to calculate the length of this arc, I will not use بقى the area of the circle, I will use the circumference rule of the circle. And again, what will I multiply this circumference with? I will multiply it with the probability of the sector, which is angle of sector divided by total angle of the circle. Okay? يبقى كل اللي أنا هعمله تاني to calculate the arc, angle of sector, divide by total angle of circle, multiply by the circumference rule at this time, because I am required to calculate the length of the arc times 8. وبعد كده هنا برضو نفس الكلام طلع لي in terms of pi. خلاص بقى I will round to 3 significant figures immediately. Now the last question that you might be asked about the sector is the perimeter. يجي يقول لي find the perimeter of the sector. Now to find the perimeter of the sector, I will add all outer sides. So this is a radius of like 8. There's a U8. We just did the arc over here, which is 5.03. And to calculate the perimeter of the sector, I will add both radii. And of course, I will add the arc to them. So 2 multiplied by 8 plus the arc that I just calculated. تمام. هي طلع لي كمان كانت على الكالكوليتر 8 over 5 pi. And then I will add 16 and then I will get, which is almost تقريبا 21. So this is these are all the basic questions. طبعا other than the basic rules يا جماعة اللي هم الباراليلوجرام ومش عارفة ايه والكلام ده كله والسكوير والريكتانجل والكلام ده. بس دي من الحاجات المهمة اللي أنا بالنسبة لي نفسي إن انتوا تبقوا فاهمينها وعارفينها كويس. Now moving on, so this is part A, the numerical part. فين كان بدايته فين؟ أهو. لو basic questions and basic shapes طبعا other than the rectangle and the square and the parallelogram الحاجات اللي هي basic. Now moving on to this question over here. Okay, and this is an important question بالنسبة لي because this year you have to learn how to use the rules differently. So actually I'm going to label this as part B اللي هو creating equations with the rules. Creating equations with the rules. يعني مثلا let's go back to the whiteboard. شكل الفيديو هيطلع أطول مما تخيلت. اوكي لأنه بيجي على بالي حاجات دايما كده بحب إن أنا أقولها يعني. Okay, let's use the smart pen and draw a circle. حلو جدا. Okay, and let's assume that this is the center over here. وجي قال لي هنا إيه؟ Let's assume أو مش let's assume. We all know that the area of the circle is pi r square. Now this rule is used in 2 different methods. The first method is substituting in it. يعني the question would say calculate the area if the radius is equal to 5, for instance. So in this case, what would I do? I will just basically substitute and then do the math. Or شفتوا or دي I will create an equation with it. يعني إيه I will create an equation with it? يعني مثلا the examiner would say the area of the circle is equal to 100. Find the value of the radius. So in this case, what will I do? I will still substitute, but I will create an equation. I will replace the area with 100. And then I will end up with this equation over here. طبعا how do I find the value of the radius? Pi مع السلامة by division. Okay? And then ending up with r power 2. And of course, to find the value of the radius, I need to square root. And then you get whatever answer. So please be aware of how to use the rules this year. So as we said, we either substitute if the radius is given or create an equation if the area is given. And of course, this applies on all shapes, not just area. Like هنا مثلا أهو, in this question, هنا بيقول لي the area of the triangle is 56. Find the value of the height. And I need to, عايزة أأكد عليكم يا جماعة مش فاكرة صراحة بس أكيد قلت الكلام ده في فيديوهات كتيرة قبل كده من الفيديوهات بتاعتي. What is the key sentence? Key sentences are very important. A key sentence is a sentence in which you can change into an equation. A key sentence is a sentence in which you can change into an equation. And how would I know that this can be changed into an equation? If there is the word is. لو في عندي is موجودة. لو في عندي is موجودة, is in math معناها equal. طبعا is أو was على حسب. اوكي. فأنا دايما بقول للعيال عندي, مش العيال يعني الطلبة بتوعي, إنه إحنا ملناش في الرغي كتير. إحنا لينا في small letters and equations and symbols. So translate this sentence over here. The area of the triangle is 56. That's your key sentence over here. And then look to the right, look to the left. In the right-hand side, can I do anything? لا, it's just a number. طيب, in the left-hand side, can I do anything? Yes. I can replace this capital A with the area of the triangle. طبعا, since this is a right angle triangle, يبقى what do I know about the area of a right angle triangle? It is half multiplied by the base multiplied by the height. So in this question, we created an equation with the rule, and then I removed the area and put the area of the triangle. Now بقى خلاص, it's basic substitution. The half is a constant value, the base is 14, and then I can easily now complete this equation to calculate the height. Multiply these two, you get 7h equals to 56. And of course, by dividing both sides by 7, you will get the height, which is equal to 8 centimeters. So بالنسبة لي, this is an interesting question. Okay, so for the numerical part, we did the basic, we did the creating equations. Now, as you can see, we're going to move on to another type of questions, اللي هم دول, اللي هم the composite shapes. والكلام ده برضو انتم بتهيالي عارفين الكلام ده كله من زمان, يعني الحاجات دي مش جديدة اللي أنا بقولها يعني, I think. Okay, زي كنت متخيلة إن الفيديو هيبقى قصير, بس معلش يا جماعة والله, and I just try to give you all the information that I have. And it will not be enough. So from the basic, actually طلع عندنا كذا حاجة. عندنا the basic, وبعد كده عندنا creating equations, وبعد كده عندنا ال composite shape. فاكشلي دول بقى هسميهم C and D. اوكي, خلينا بقى نشوف دول هنسميهم ايه اصلا. طيب, فخلينا نرجع تاني to the notes. اهي composite shapes. Now, what is a composite shape? As you can see, a composite shape is a shape in which it has to be divided into 2D shapes علشان أقدر أجيب الاريا بتاعته. فكل اللي احنا بنعمله هنا في المسائل اللي من النوع ده إن احنا بنقسمه. We divide it into 2D shapes, and then we see how many shapes are we going to create, and then find the area. فطبعا كل واحد والتقسيمة بتاعته. في واحد ممكن يقسمها لي كده مثلا. فهنا we're going to construct some lines to get 2D shapes that I know areas of, and then I add all. فمثلا عندي هنا shape 1, shape 2, and shape 3, and then I find the area of each shape and I add all. Or if you wish to divide it بالشكل ده, again, it is totally up to you. يعني اللي يريحكم يا جماعة. It's totally up to you. How would you do the construction? And I'm going to stick with what I did initially. So what are composite shapes? As you can see, composite shapes are shapes that have to be divided into smaller 2D shapes. And how do we divide them? We construct. Now, as you can see, we have 3 shapes over here, area 1, area 2, and area 3. So this is step number 1, construct lines to create smaller 2D shapes. Step number 2, find any missing lines. So let's see. This is a complete line. 6 is, I have it, 11 is there. I know that this is 9, I know that this is 5, and I know that this is 6, okay? Now you need to look for all the missing lines and then calculate them, and I know this. Now all of the highlighted yellow lines, أنا عارفة length بتاعهم. Now let's see the lines that are missing بالنسبة لي. This line over here is missing, and then I have these two. These two are missing. So you need to find the length of the missing lines, which are the green. Now let's assume, if I label this as X, this would be as X as well, because they're equal. Now, do you have any idea how do we find the X? Super easy. 11 minus 9, and then you'll get this X over here, which is 2. So these petite little sides are 2 and 2. And then we have this green. Now, how do I find this green? If I continue, or if I draw such a dotted line, if I continue this line, this is all 18. ده كله كده على بعضه 18. تمام. This part is 5 and this part is 6. Oh, how difficult is that? How do I find the y, which is this part only? Excellent. I will subtract the 5 and the 6 from the 18. Super difficult. 5 plus 6, which is 7. So I will get this length as 7. Okay. طيب دلوقتي يا جماعة اللي عارفة إنه في ناس بتبقى already عارفة الكلام ده كتير. if you actually know all the information, you can stop the video actually and solve the questions, and then you can just come back and check your answers if you wish. Now, as you can see, we have area 1, and then we have area 2, and then we have area 3. So I just add them all. Okay, and please يا جماعة, as I always say, quality over quantity مش 17 مليون step. يعني how do I calculate area 1? Side times side, or base times height. And please remember that you have to use complete sides. يعني مش مثلا حتة، يعني مثلا أنا لو عايزة أجيب area 1 ما ينفعش أعمل 6 times 9. إزاي يعني بقى هاخد حتة قصيرة كده؟ I must take a complete side. So let me use the highlighter again. So area 1 is 6 times 11. Area 2 is 2 times 7. And area 3 is 5 times 6. And this is what I mean by taking a complete sides. So area 1 again, 6 times 11. Don't calculate it yet. Area 2, 7 times 2. Don't calculate it yet. Area 3 is 5 times 6. Now calculate. 6 times 11 plus 7 times 2 plus 5 times 6, and then you'll get a total area of 110 centimeter, of course, square. الميزة بقى عندنا غير الفيزيكس. In physics, you have to write the units والكلام ده كله. Now, in math, you have to write the units as well برضو. But the good thing إنه if the examiner requires the units, هيعمل فضيحة. And please write your units. ويعمل لك space ويحط bold. بس يعني remember to write the units. And these are the composite shapes, as you can see. Let's move on to another composite shape. يعني هو ده اللي أنا بقوله. You can pause and solve the rest of the questions يعني هنا in the notes. Now, this is another composite shape over here. طبعا what I would do على طول is that I will divide it into a trapezium. وللأسف el trapezium is one of the shapes that most of my students don't like. Although يا جماعة, it is very obvious and it's very nice. Okay, now this is a trapezium over here. Then I'm going to use pink, although I'm not a fan of pink, to identify the second shape. So this diagram has been divided into a trapezium and into a rectangle. Now, I just had a question that just popped up into my mind. If I wish to calculate the parameter of this shape, what will I add? This, not this. Okay, and this is what I mean. When we are required to calculate the parameter, we only calculate the outer sides. Now, let's see, as we said, step number 1, construct to create mini 2D shapes. And then step number 2, find any missing dimension or any missing length that will help you. Now, by looking at the rectangle, I don't have missing dimensions, as I can easily calculate the area. I have this base and the height over here. Length times width, base times height, Muhammad times Hussein, يعني you can call them whatever you want. Okay, so the area here is 6 times 20. Very clear. Now, as for the trapezium, again, I'm just going to focus on, in the trapezium, you need 2 parallel sides, and you need the height, or the distance, the vertical distance between them. Now, I only actually have the height. So this dimension over here is missing. Let's just label it, for example, as x. Now, how do I calculate the x? Oh my God, this is so hard. This is 14. كل ده كله على بعضه كده هنا 14. ودي هنا 6. So x is what the remaining. Excellent. 14 minus 6, which is 8, I guess. 14. 14 minus 6, which is 8. So I have the height now. Now, again, this part is missing over here. الترابيزيوم عمل لنا مشكلة كبيرة. I need to find this part over here. Now, the whole base is 20. part of it is 11. So if I label this, for example, as y, so y is going to be 20 minus 11, which is equal to 9. Okay, to 9. So this is the x and this is the y. طبعا يا جماعة أنا علشان بشرح I do it in a lot of details, but this you don't have to do in exam. Now, how do I calculate the area of the trapezium? And please remember يا جماعة that the trapezium is a quadrilateral in which two sides are parallel and not equal. So base 1 plus base 2 over 2 multiplied by the height. وأنا عاملة الحسابات صح؟ 6 times 20 خليني بس أتأكد. And then we have دي هنا 20 minus 11, so this is 9. 14 minus 6, so this is 8. Now on the calculator immediately, you do it once on your calculator. I always tell my students not to use the calculator 17 مرة. كل شوية أكتب حاجة واستعمل الكالكوليتر. كل شوية أكتب step واستعمل الكالكوليتر. Try as much as you can to minimize your use of the calculator in case you get something incorrectly. Okay, so this is another composite shape as you can see. تمام؟ طيب. Moving on to one more question related to composite, and as I said, you can pause, solve this question on your own, and then go back to عموما يعني احنا ناقص لنا مثلا بتاع تلت ساعة ولا حاجة. يعني أصلي in total I guess how many questions? 4 questions. يعني غير ده. طبعا again this is a composite shape, so as we said construct and add. فطبعا الناس بقى الجميلة هتقولي يا مس ده semicircle. هنا this part is a semicircle, this part as well is a semicircle, and this shape over here is a rectangle. طبعا في الامتحان بيبقى كاتب لي ده shape is made out of مش عارفة ايه وايه وايه، يعني بيبقى رغي كتير. فأنا هنا what do you think guys? You think I can consider these two as one circle? Definitely. So the area of this shape is going to be one circle plus the rectangle. تمام؟ طيب طبعا what applies on parameter area applies on parameter. يعني if I want to find the parameter I will add the outer sides. The rectangle of course is 14 times 12 base times height, Muhammad times Hussein on length times width, whatever. And as for the circle, we need its radius. Now the radius of the circle is going to be half the 12 of course. So semicircle and this semicircle combined together, they create one circle with an area of pi times 6 squared. على طول. And this is another composite shape. Now on the calculator, shift pi times 6 squared plus 14 times 12, and then I'll get an answer after rounding to 281 and L1 العجيبة دي 281 centimeter squared. Okay, so we did the numerical questions, the basic, the creating equations, and then the composite. Okay. Now, I think بقى خلاص كفاية كده. We're going to move on. What was the second part? The algebraic question. Okay, the algebraic questions. Now, as you can see, the algebraic questions definitely are questions with algebra. So we're still in the notes, by the way. So let's go back to the notes and go to this page over here, which is page 204. And let's look at this algebraic question over here. Now, as you can see, هنا بيقول لي إيه? Again, this is the notes page 204. Really, the diagram is made out of a rectangle and a right angle triangle. Okay, the parameter is given by this formula over here. Now, this is a very simple equation. This is a very simple question related to substitution. Okay, work out the value of x when p is equal to 43 and y is equal to 6.5. Now, since we discussed the subject of the formula, what I would do is that I would make x subject first in this equation or in this formula, ending up with, طبعا let me just rewrite it as follows, 12x plus 2y equals to p. To make x subject, دي مع السلامة to the other side, so 12x, مش عايزة بقى ايه تبقى سخيف كده, p, مش عارفة أحيانا بيعمل كده ليه, لو بيقول لي كفاية 12x is equal to p minus 2y, and then of course to find the value of 1x I divide by 12. صراحة this is what I would prefer. اللي هو if I'm required to calculate the length of a letter, what I would do صراحة is that I would make the letter subject first and then I would substitute. Now the parameter is given as 43, the y is given as 6.5, and the 12 is a constant value. Now this is times, not percentage. Now I do it on the calculator one step على طول, and I will get the value of x. 2 times 6.5 over 12. And then I will get an x value of 2.5. And please, ya جماعة, always remember to write your answer in the provided space over here in the dots. Now, question number B, I'm just going to solve it next to the diagram. Question B says, find in terms of x a formula for the area for the shape and give your answer as simplified as possible. I'm just going to solve it over here because I need the diagram with me. هنا. Now, let me learn to use my magic trick and erase this. Okay, I am required to give an expression for the area. Now, please, ya habibi, ya حلوين, you don't need to panic if the question changes to algebra. What applies on numbers applies on algebra. Now, as you can see, I have a rectangle, and I did not assume, by the way, that it's a rectangle. The examiner said this is a rectangle. And I have a right angle triangle. And again, no assumption. The examiner told me that. Now, to find the area of this shape, to find the total area of this shape, I will get the area of the rectangle and I will add to it the area of the triangle. Very, very simple. Now, as we said, the area of the rectangle is base times height, length times width, Muhammad times Hussein, whatever. I don't really care. What do you call them? Basically, it's this times this. 4x times y. This is the area of the rectangle. Okay, now as for the triangle, especially with the right angle triangle, the area of the right triangle is half base height. طب هو ليه مديني ال 5x سخافة مش أكتر؟ يعني why am I given this? Just to confuse you for no other reason. Okay, so اللي مش عاجبك خبيه أهو ولا كأني مش شايفاه. To find the area of the right angle triangle is half multiplied by the base multiplied by the height. طب يا مس مين البيز ومين الهايت؟ مش فارقة. Okay, half times that times that. Okay, so add to it half times 3x times 4x. Now, how do I simplify this? As for the first part, which is this, there's nothing to be done other than removing this multiplication symbol. So it could be written as 4xy. Okay? دلوقتي بقى يا جماعة الغلطة الرهيبة اللي بجد أنا بزعل جدا لما بشوفها الولاد يعملوا كده half times 3 و half times 4. This is so wrong. We don't do this here. You just multiply the three numbers together. So on your calculator, half times 3 times 4. وزي ما بقول دايما للولاد عندي, whenever you're dealing with multiplication, numbers and algebra, work on the numbers separately and then work on the numbers. So on your calculator separately, half times 3 times 4. Okay, of course, which is 6. Half times 3 times 4. أنا بتأكد على فكرة بالكالكوليتر مش غلط. Which is 6. And then x times x is what? X squared. خلاص, that's it. Now, if you wish to leave it at this stage, or if you wish to simply factorize it, I guess you can do that. يعني ما فيش أزمة. If you wish to factorize, طبعا 4 and 6, the highest common factor is 2. X and x power 2, you take the smaller x as common, and then you end up with 2y plus 3x. But I guess this would do. اللي هي دي. The simplest form. If you wish to factorize, although I don't think that you need to factorize. And this is an algebra question here, as you can see, which is not that difficult. And no, what applies on algebra applies on numbers. Okay? Actually, I saw another algebra question, but I don't want to make the video longer because I actually have more important questions to do. Now, let's go back to the notes. We did the algebra questions. We did one question. That is algebra. There are much more complicated questions, but صراحة, these I'm going to leave them with the past papers when we're dealing with past papers. So let's assume that this is ABCD. This is part D. Now the last part is going to be this part over here, which is part F, the tricks, shaded questions, and let's see, we have 3 questions in total to do as for this part, especially with the questions related to the shaded area. وزي ما بقول لكم يا جماعة, whenever we do any video, أنا لو يعني مش عندي وقت, لو أنا عارفة إنه أنتوا مش هتزهقوا, أنا ممكن أعمل كمية أسئلة رهيبة, بس I leave it to the past papers. Now we're going to move on to the last type of questions, which is the shaded questions. Shaded questions بتيجي regularly في الامتحان. And this is, let's assume this is part F. سميناه إيه? A, B, C, D, F. Okay. Part F are the shaded questions. اللي هو, as you can see, I am given 2 shapes, a square and a circular, and a circle. One of them is big, one of them is small. And as you can see from this diagram over here, the circle is the bigger shape and the square is the smaller shape. And I am required to calculate the shaded region. Now, how do you think we're going to calculate the area shaded? Please, Jama'a, write this down. And actually, this applies on volume as well, okay? Whenever you're dealing with questions like this, now to find area shaded, if you wish to write this down, area shaded is going to be area big minus area small. Area big minus area small. Now, and how did I figure out what are my shapes? أهو square و circle. يعني أنا بما معناها ما فتتش من عندي، ما جبتش حاجة من عندي يعني. Okay؟ أخذ مية بس. طبعا we all know, so the bigger shape over here is the circle. Now you have to identify what shape is the bigger and what shape is the smaller. So the bigger shape is the circle, the smaller shape is the square. So area circle, which is pi times 5 squared. طبعا يا جماعة, I guess بقى you know how did we get the 5. Oh, the diameter is 10. So I can easily find the radius, divide the 10 by 2, minus the square is side times side, length times width, base times height, Muhammad times Hussein, as we said, doesn't make a difference. 3.2 times 3.2. طبعا, of course, this could be written as 3.2 squared. يعني it's the same, the أو ده. And then, as I always say, يا حبايبي, one step on your calculator. Please don't use your calculator so many times to avoid errors or writing a misnumber. طبعا هنا, after rounding to 3 significant figures, you will get an answer of 68.3 centimeter squared. And this is actually what we're going to focus on now, how to find area of shaded region. To find area of shaded region, what I do, as you can see, is area big multiply minus area small. You have to identify which shape is the bigger shape, which shape is the smaller shape. Now that's it for the notes. Moving on to classified part 4. Moving on to classified part 4. This page over here, لأنه this is one of the important questions that I need you to understand. Now, أهو. This is classified part 4, page 113. هنا بيقول لي the diagram shows a sector over here, okay? And AB is a chord. Now, I don't know if you know what is the chord, so I'm just going to say it super quick. فين الحتة اللي أنا برسم فيها الشيبس الجميلة بتاعتي؟ أهو فين البن السمارت. This is the smart pen. ده كده اسمه chord. What is a chord? فين في vanishing pen. Let's see the vanishing pen. What is a chord? Very interesting. تمام. What is a chord? A chord is a line that connects. حلوة دي. A chord, معلش أنا بحب ألعب كده. A chord is a line that connects 2 points on the circumference. If the chord passes through the center, then it's called a diameter. If a chord passes through the center, then it's called the diameter. So the diameter is the longest chord. Okay. So as you can see over here, if I actually use my magic trick, okay, and I erase this part, ده باين قوي إن هو sector. Do I have the components of this sector? Yes, I do. I have the components of the sector. And as we said, what are the components of the sector? The components of the sector are radius, and an angle. So this is the bigger shape, okay? طيب السكتور بتاعي اهو. وبعد كده قال لي إنه تخيلوا كده معايا بقى أنا هعمل إيه؟ خلاص إحنا عرفنا السكتور دلوقتي. Actually, I'm going to use my trick برضو to erase this part. لا أيوة عارفين التريك باظت ولا إيه؟ تعالي أهو. I will erase this part. So what is the other shape that I have in this question? As you can see, لأن هي بقى مش مكتوبة. The other shape that I have in this question, as you can see, which is very clear, which is a triangle. But this triangle is not a right angle triangle. Now, and we discussed the area of non-right, actually we discussed the general area rule of any triangle في الدنيا, which is half times side times side times sine angle in between. Half base height is only used with right angle triangles. Now let's put everything back in its place. I am required to calculate the shaded area. How do you think I'm required to calculate the shaded area? According to what we just said in our previous example, to find any shaded area, It's the area of the bigger shape minus the area of the smaller shape. Now, which area is the bigger? Which area is the smaller? We just identified them both using the magic trick. The bigger shape is the sector, and the smaller shape is the triangle. So to find area shaded, هنعمل area sector minus area triangle. Let's remember the area of the sector. Only the area of the sector is angle of sector. Area of sector is angle of sector divided by 360 multiplied by the area circle, pi times 5.4 squared. Then again, to find the area of the sector, I multiply this fraction by the area of the circle. Minus, let's remember together the area sign rule, which is half times. This is the side of the whole. ده triangle يا جماعة. Let me just highlight them so that they are clear for you. نستعمل ايه green. Okay, نصغر ده شوية كده. That's the sector. أهو. Which has this area over here. And then the triangle. أهو. Which has this area over here. And of course, area of triangle is half times side, the first side, which is 5.4, times the second side, which as well is 5.4. طبعا this is an isosceles triangle. ممكن أجيب الarea بتاعته أعمل construction والheight وكم. This is too long. فuse this please. Don't forget it. اللي هي half times side times sine the angle in between. And this is the area of the triangle. On the calculator once. هتقولوا يا مس بس دي طويلة إن هي تتحط على الكالكوليتر. يا جماعة إحنا we have scientific calculators please use them. أنا مش بحب بس إن إحنا كل شوية نكتب حاجة على الكالكوليتر ونحسبها. فرضا كتبت رقم غلط، فرضا جيت انقلها نقلتها غلط، فعشان كده انا بحب ان احنا نكتب one step ونحطها على الكالكوليتر مره واحده. minus half times 5.4 times 5.4. طبعا if you want to write it as 5.4 squared طبعا اكيد صح. times sine 72. On the calculator the answer is after rounding to 3 significant figures بالظبط كده 4.46. 4.46. So this is an important question صراحة بالنسبة لي اللي هو how to find the area of the shaded segment. فعملنا area sector، خلينا نتأكد إن حساباتي بس صح. area sector minus area triangle. تمام كده. And طبعا هنا in this triangle we will not use half base height. We used half times sine half times side times sine angle in between. Okay. I know that you're almost أو خلاص ارحمينا بقى معلش بس this is the last question that I'm going to do and this is a very important question يا جماعة and please let's do it together. As you can see this is question number 22. يعني ده يعتبر من الأسئلة الرذلة اللي في الامتحانات بس please يا جماعة it's not that bad I promise. Now هنا بقى let's look at this question. This is in your classified part 2 page كام 118. خلاص I promise this is the last question. Classified part 2 page number 118. هنا بيقول لي the diagram shows a circle و shows a chord وكذا وكذا وكذا. طيب the question here requires the length of this arc over here. Now as you can see this arc is a part of my sector and as we said the major components of the sector are the angle and a radius and a radius. Now, what is missing in this question over here? In this question, the radius is missing. Now, in order for me to find the length of this arc, I must have a way to calculate the radius. How will I calculate the length of this arc if I don't have the radius? Let's look together at this. And what is this? تاني يا جماعة بأكد والنبي this is a key sentence. And what is a key sentence? A key sentence is a sentence that can be changed into an equation. How do I know it? If there is the word is. So here, the key sentence says, I'm just going to zoom out. The key sentence says, the area of the shaded segment is 100. Calculate the length of the arc. Now, why do you think I am given the key sentence? I am given the key sentence علشان أتشقلب وأطلع radius. I am given the key sentence for me to calculate the radius. Okay. Step number 1, whenever you're dealing with key sentences, is change to equation. So area shaded is 100. That's the key sentence. Super translation, I did nothing more. Now we look to the left and we look to the right. Now on the right-hand side, there is this 100. And of course, there is nothing to be done with the 100. Now on the left-hand side, there is the area of the shaded. And we just said, how do I find area shaded? Area shaded, always and forever, is to be found area big minus area small. طيب, what is my bigger shape? And what is my smaller shape? The bigger shape is the sector. Let's just put the rule of the sector. Angle طبعا, لأن يا جماعة this is area, so I will put the area of the sector. Angle of sector over 360 times pi times ايه ده؟ طب أنا ما أعرفش الراديوس وكمان مش حاطط لي عليه letter. You just put the letter. ففين المشكلة؟ You can put letter R, put letter X, whatever letter that you want. خليها R. Okay? Times pi R squared. Minus. لأن احنا اتفقنا إنه the bigger shape is the sector and the smaller shape is the triangle. Now what's the area of the triangle? ما هو ده التراينجل اهو. زي المسألة اللي فاتت بالظبط. بس المسألة دي we are creating an equation. What's the area of the triangle? Half multiplied by side, which احنا سميناه R, multiplied by another side, which is سميناه R برضو, multiplied by sine 30. كل ده is equal to كام؟ 100. This is the key sentence. المشكلة بقى يا جماعة بتبقى في إيه؟ المشكلة بتبقى أكمل إزاي؟ دايماً دي بقى من الحاجات المهمة. Whenever you're dealing with equations that have numbers and letters, try and simplify the numbers together. يعني مثلا هنا, in the first part, in this part over here, let's see what I can do. In the second part over here, let's see what I can do. أنا هنا, in the highlighted yellow, the only thing I can do is that I can simplify this. Don't multiply by pi and then change it to decimal. Please يا جماعة, no need for creativity. Okay? And no need, زي ما دايما بقعد أقول للناس, مش كل شوية decimal. فدي 1 على 12. 1 على 12 pi r squared. This is the simplest form. يعني أنا I simplified this on the calculator and then I just removed the multiplication symbols. Minus. نيجي بقى للhighlighted green. As I always say, work on the numbers together. يعني دول times بعض. So on the calculator, half times sine 30, which is 1 over 4. And then r times r is what? R squared equals to a 100. أهو. This is what I did. طبعا هي دي equation, بس هي equation رزلة شوية to find the value of the radius. طبعا I will try and do it as much as I can بالطريقة اللي أنا شايفة من وجهة نظري will minimize mistakes. طبعا أنتوا ممكن تعملوهم على الكالكوليتر, يعني ممكن أعمل ده minus ده, بس هتطلع decimals بقى وهتبقى رخمة وحاجات زي كده. أنا أحيانا شوية بعقد الدنيا. What I will do is that I will take r square common. تمام. From here. Then I'm trying to find the radius with the minimum use of calculator. فهناخد r common equals 100. وبعد كده in step 5 I will find the radius على طول. طبعا since this bracket is multiplied I will move it to the other side by division. على فكرة المسألة دي مشكلتها بس في حساباتها. وطبعا بالمرة هعمل square root to find the radius. يبقى the procedure that you use from here onwards, it's totally up to you to find the value of radius. What I do هنا إن أنا بحاول أقلل percentage بتاعت الإيرور. أوكي؟ في ناس بتقوم حاسباها على الكالكوليتر, يعني تعمل ده minus ده على الكالكوليتر وبعد كده تبقى decimal وتوديها الناحية التانية بالديفيجن وعادي, ما ده صح برضو مش غلط. أنا بس زي ما بقول لكم بحاول إن أنا أستعمل الأرقام مظبوطة. أنا أخدت radius power 2 common, اتبقى لي كده, then I moved it to the other side by division وبعد كده عملت square root. دلوقتي بقى I will pick up my calculator. هتبقى 100 over 1 over 12 shift pi, and thank God for scientific calculators, minus 1 over 4. On the calculator, the radius طلع لي رقم كبير شوية, which is 92. خليني أتأكد من حساباتي برضو تاني. Okay, which is 92.05. Let me just make sure that the calculations are correct. Actually, it is correct, but I'm going to do it again with you. تمام, هنا قلنا 30 over 360 times pi r squared. Now let's check that the units are the centimeter square هنا. Okay, half times r times sine 30. Yes, the calculations are correct. Okay, so now بقى خلاص, since I have the radius in question number 6, I am going to do the required from me, which is the length of this arc over here. أهو, the length of the arc. طبعا since the arc, and actually this is the final answer خلاص. The length of the arc, I'm going to use بقى the circumference rule, 2 pi r. And remember, I'm going to multiply it with the fraction that represents my sector, which is angle of sector divided by 360. And then I will multiply by the radius that I just calculated, which is 92.05. And of course, for better, use the answer button. So 30 over 360 times 2 times shift pi times answer. And I will get an answer of 48 point, خليني بس أعملها تاني, معلش, 30 over 360 times 2 times shift pi times 92.1. Let's assume I'm هتطلع لي 48.2 after rounding. 48.2 after rounding. So as you can see, that was one of my important questions اللي هو, if there is a key sentence, then what do you need to do with it related to shaded circles? So we started with the key sentence, area big minus area small, sector minus triangle. I created an equation to find the value of the radius, and then after I found the radius, I calculated what the examiner requires, which is the length of the arc, angle of sector, over 360 times circumference gives the length of the arc. And remember that the unit here, since its length is just centimeters. I hope that this video was useful for you. And again, I'm sorry if the videos get a little longer. I just want to give you all the information that you deserve. And please, if you have any questions, let me ask. If you wish to practice more on 2D shapes, then you can solve in classified parts 2 and 4. And of course, the marking scheme is available. You know where it is available. Okay, thank you everyone for listening and enjoy your day. Bye.